Good morning, and welcome back to Gaming with ADHD. Today we're going to continue our look at a Shadowrun product you might not know existed, or if you did, maybe you aren't that familiar with it. But first, let's get back into that Wayback Machine. Just kidding. Just kidding. We did that in the first video about Lothan the Wise. I'm going to have that linked down below. Check it out. I liked it. So, today I actually want to take a look at one of the female figures for Wave 1 of Shadowrun Duels, and that's Liada, the Elven Mage. Now, keep in mind this is a review of the figure and its accessories at the time of purchase. I have most of the figures, and I will do a review of the gameplay once I look at all of the figures that I have and get a couple of games under my belt. So, without further ado, let's take a look at Liada. So let's get a little extra light in here. All right, so this is the contents of what you receive in the package. All right, so first off, we have Liada, the Elf Mage. She comes in she is figure number 3 in the series, and she comes in at 5 3/4 inches tall. Her figure options are that she has 2 swappable hands, one right and one left. And she also has a swappable right arm, which, as you can tell, has a transparent effect on it. I really like how they did they maintained the paint job on it. But still got you that crystal magic-y effect on her arm. As far as equipment, she has an air spirit, a cloak, a combat spell amulet. Actually, it's got some detail on it. Let's take a little bit of a closer look here. So just a simple pattern, but they did get something, and it's a piece of regular cloth string. She also has a shoulder pouch. Not a ton of detail, but enough. And a wand. Now, for the game accessories, she came with this standard base that all of the Shadowrun Duels figures came with. Not sure why my camera's out of focus all of a sudden. All right. So we have an action base. We have a flight stand for the air spirit. I'll show you how that works later. And then we also have dice. We have a single red D12, one white D8, 2 red and 1 white D6, 2 white, 2 yellow, and 1 red D4. And then, like all of the figures, you have a paper tape measure for measuring all of your ranges. So, let's get into the production quality of the figure. So, first off, I do like the look of Liada. Let's get a little bit of a close-up. They did really well on her face. I like the blue lipstick on her. The choker that they've got around her neck, which is more to hide the fact that, they made the head be able to turn. So, covers that up nicely. But she's got long hair that actually, looks right. After almost 20 years, you can see some of the paint has rubbed off of her arm, and especially on her shoulders. She's got this little energy thing. Now, the one thing I have to say is this is more of a statue than an action figure. We've got points of articulation on the shoulders and on the neck, and then also on the waist. just slightly. However, the legs and the knees and even the feet are stiff. There's literally no joint to bend them. But overall, I like the look of the figure. I would have liked some articulation on the elbows, at least on the elbows. You do get a little bit on the wrist, but I'm not going to bend those much just because, again, age of the figure, and I'm not quite sure how well they'll hold up to removing and re-adding the different hands. Let's see. The air spirit. So, unfortunately, you have the same kind of an issue you have with any sort of a single color plastic that you're not going to paint or put any kind of a wash on. You can see that there's definitely some good details. He has sort of a dragon frog look to him, but it's a little hard to tell. I could paint it, but I really don't want. I really don't want to. I don't want to, change the quality of the figures. Again, same with Lothan. One of the problems is, they have these plastic pegs. I would have much preferred just hands that were sized right, like your old G.I. Joe figures that were sized right to actually hold their items. One thing I did notice when I was looking at her today, she does have a hole here where you can put additional pieces of equipment. One thing that I did like a lot about this figure is they actually made the cloak removable. So if you notice here, if I can get it to focus, so that is a points cost and a rules value. In this case, adding to her defense. So part of the rules of the game were that you only had the accessories on the model that they were actually going to use, and it actually was able to get this back on earlier, so I apologize. So I am trying to just leave the accessories in place so as to not damage them after all the time. But as you can see, it sits on very well, sits underneath the hair. But as I mentioned earlier, there has been a lot of paint wear on the shoulders from the cloak, and so it's actually kind of damaged the paint job there. But overall, I like the look of the figure with the cloak on. Let's see. Another thing, the air spirit, it's kind of hard to find, as you can tell. All right, there's a small hole right here in the base where you would take this flight stand. Okay, so Liada, just like any of the other figures, has holes in her feet to stand on the base. But then with the air spirit, they use this stand, and you can clip it onto the base as well. So you end up with the figure and her accompanying air spirit. Now, personally, from a game perspective, I'm not quite sure how it would have modified the rules, but I would have liked to see something where you have the air spirit on a separate base, able to interact and do different things on the play surface. But that's that's quibbling at this point. And as I mentioned in the Lothan the Wise review, let's take these off. The base does open to use for storage for all of your little items. Besides the air spirit, which to me, you're just going to leave it on the base as a display piece anyways. But all of her equipment actually fits, without any problems. As you can see, you have your rules summary within the dice tray, but all of her pieces, her extra hands, her arm, all of her accessories fit without any problems. So, really liked that. So, in conclusion, Liada is a solid figure. And I mean that both literally and figuratively. And I should have gotten that in sooner. I apologize. Unfortunately, especially even compared to Lothan the Wise, she's very static. There's not a lot of dynamic look to this figure. But from a statue perspective, she looks just fine. I like the pale skin. Definitely comes off like your traditional look of an elf. So, overall, this is, it's a really good figure, which unfortunately just had some minor issues. I would be very curious to see how they would do the figure again if they brought it into the modern day. But other than that, I really like this figure. I hope you enjoyed taking a look at it, and we will see you for the next one. Bye.